And what's up YouTube, it's Derek here. So you may notice I'm not behind a kit this week. So what I wanted to start to do is just put out videos every once in a while just to kind of give you some pro tips. I wanted this to be catered to musicians in general, not just drummers. It's going to be things I use as a drummer, but really can be implemented across no matter what kind of instrument you play. Wanted to just cover some practice tips, some mindset habits, even some of the financial business side of things, just to better help your experience in what you may do. So for today's video, I want to do something what I call the layering process. A lot of people call it stepping stones, so on and so forth. There's been different names for it. And what it is basically is just a practice method you can use at any level. Doesn't matter if you've been playing 30 minutes or 30 years. You can use this to kind of develop your technique and get better at what it is you're doing. So before I get into any kind of demonstration of what this is on the pad, I just want to talk about it scientifically, what goes on. So the way our brains work is anytime we do a specific function, let's say grabbing a fork off the table or even taking a step, what happens is a synapse gets fired off in our brain to be able to do that, and through habituation of that motion or that action, that synapse gets quicker and quicker over time. So an analogy for it is, let's say you're on one side of an area and you're trying to get to another side of an area, and there's a giant field in the way with, really tall grass. So you don't have any kind of mower or anything to get through that. What you do is you just start walking through and trampling through that field. Now, the first time you do that, of course, it's going to take you, quite a while because there's all that brush and all those weeds and stuff in the way. But after habituation of doing that, day in and day out, walking through it, eventually you start to see a path start to form. Eventually, the several minutes that it takes, starts to take you just a matter of seconds. And the same exact thing applies to a synapse, what happens in your brain when you habitually do something over and over again. So to apply that to the drums, what happens is for any given beat, you repetitively do one aspect of the beat until you habitually get good at doing that, and then you just add on the layers to it. So what I'm going to show you today is just, your basic one-on-one beat, playing 1 and 3 on the kick, 2 and 4 on the snare, and a typical 8th note pattern on the hat. So put this into practice. What you would do is, say you're just starting to learn a drum beat, you just want to start with the most repetitive action that there is. So this would just be the 8th notes, so it would just sound like this. So what you do is you do that repetitively over and over and over, as boring as it may seem, until you really get that down. Just the motion of your wrist, how it moves, how it feels, the sound of it, all of that. And when you get that down, say you're practicing it 15 minutes over the course of 3 or 4 days. On the 5th day, you might start to imply the snare side of things. We'll start with the snare since you can't see my feet for the kick. So the snare pattern, you're going to do 2 and 4. But to really lock it in, you want to start with just doing 2. So sound like this. Then you do that so you don't get it wrong. So play it consecutively for, say, like 10-20 seconds. If you aren't screwing up the beat at all, then you can add in the 4th beat. So it'd look like this. Now let's say you screw that up, play it on 3 or whatever, you go back and just do the 2. So I'll intentionally mess that up and show you what I mean by that. So then you just do the 2. After doing that, throw in the 4. So then after a while, you get used to that, those hand patterns going on, that coordination, and you start to throw in the foot. And you can't really see my feet in this, so I'm just going to hit the side of my drum to imply that's a kick. So again, layering effect, you aren't throwing in everything at once. Now you have the hat and the snare down solid. I'm just going to start with 1 for the kick. So right like that. So from there on, you know, the only missing thing now is beat 3. So to have your 1-on-1 beat with just the 1 and 3 on the bass and the 2 and 4 on the snare, add it all together, and it sounds like this. And that's really all there is to it. So again, it's just layering that, starting out simple and adding those pieces together so your brain gets used to what it feels like, how it sounds, you know, what playing it looks like and all of that. So by slowly layering that and adding each one in, you just really start to develop it, habituate it till, you know, you're not even thinking about it. So, and you can transfer this to any kind of beat that you're doing. With a more complex beat, it would look kind of like this. So again, there, what we're doing is we're just singling out what the right hand would do, and you just repetitively do that until you get used to what that is. And then adding each note in. You know, and I messed up a little bit there, but you get the point of it. So really guys, I hope you got some use out of this. Realize you can use this towards any beat, anything you're doing, as long as you just take that general concept of piecing it together piece by piece and then adding it all in till you get a finished product. So if you did get some use out of this and you enjoyed it, like, subscribe. You don't want to miss out on the continuation of the videos I'm going to post, just to give you guys some tips and tricks of what's worked for me with my musicianship over the years and things I've been doing. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next week.